And I just realized, um, okay, guys, I'm live. Wonderful. I got that all ready to go. I have a question for you guys. Have you ever heard of the word shaman? And have you ever heard of the term Jin Shin Jyutsu? At the Energy Healing Conference, one of the things we like to do is to bring new modalities that are not as well known in Utah here so that people can learn more about it. And the term shaman, I feel like, has kind of been a little bit of a buzzword, not just in Utah, but across the globe. People even using it in some ways, a lot of people feel inappropriately, and people who are just like, I don't know if I would ever go to them kind of thing. Well, I have found somebody who I feel like I can easily shine a light on her because she does the work that she says. And she has worked with many, many light workers that have come back to me, that have written me notes, that have posted reviews, all kinds of stuff that have said how deeply meaningful their sessions with Tomasa one-on-one really were. And also the people who've gone to her retreats and her workshops. She really is, I mean, one of my, I'm not supposed to say favorites, but she's really one of my favorite people to work with. And I aspire to be more like her. In fact, I've booked my own sessions with her, and I'm just so grateful. Now, she has also, just so you know, decades of experience in doing this work. And she didn't start out with this. She started out going in a completely different direction, and she switched gears when she realized that wasn't what was best for her. In fact, it was a high-tech career. And so now she's been doing Asian healing arts. And in 2006, that's when she just secured the National Diplomat of Asian Bodywork Therapy certification, fusing Chinese medicine and Jin Shin Jyutsu, which has birthed her vibrant energy flow system. And I love that she has also written books about self-care because she is so good at it. In fact, she goes hiking regularly, allows time for herself to be in nature, and she serves people. But she is like the epitome of somebody that, like, you really want to work with her. She's traveled to locations around the world that are considered to be high vibration, even sacred locations. One of the things that I adore about her personally is that she really does have a deep desire within her to help people to do the work. So she's not going to be the type of person that just like validates you and like gives you an attaboy or whatever. No, she's going to be like, hey, let's look at this. You know what I mean? And really work with the person. So without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce to you and have a speaker spotlight with Tomasa Macapinlac. And if you're watching right now and you have yourself been curious about new modalities, or you've kind of felt like you've maybe been in a funk, I want to introduce you to her. I want you to really get to know her. So go ahead, and just because of the way the algorithms work, if there is somebody who is like you feel would be really connected to what we're speaking about today, I want to invite you to go ahead and share this video either on your own platforms, or feel free to grab the link and text it to whoever you feel inspired to share it with. I just feel really grateful to be able to have her here today. So without further ado, Tomasa Macapinlac.
Girl, when you described me, I wanted to cry.
Oh.
I wanted to give you a heartfelt thank you for inviting me. And I'm so blessed to have you in my life and to help me serve more light workers, more people, whoever it is that needs amazing, beautiful work that actually gets them results. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's totally my honor and privilege to have you here as well. I really am so grateful. And let's identify what does a light worker mean? There might be somebody watching right now that goes, I don't know how to tell if I am because I don't know what it is. What does that mean to you?
Well, light worker, it's funny because I'll tell you something. I had a client of mine who is in a traditional field. She's a physical therapist, but she has a PhD, I want to say in pelvic. I can't remember what they exactly call it, but
Yeah.
but working with the pelvis. And so she came to me a couple years ago because she was referred to me by someone else. And I'm telling the story because she didn't know she was a light worker.
Mm.
And so she had a gift since she was a child that she could hear or feel um, intuitively things. Like
Mhm.
she just knew things.
Yeah.
And she has a gift to actually, work with people and energetically. And she didn't know it until, she met a shaman. And then she wanted to work with another shaman, a female shaman. And so she was referred to me.
Mhm.
And after her session with me, she said to me, Tomasa, I heard the message Lightworker come to me after our session. And she
Mhm.
said, so I went to go look that up. And she goes, I didn't realize that I was a light worker.
Mm.
And I just kind of nodded and I was like, yeah, you are. So light worker is somewhat of a healer. Many of us don't recognize or know it, but it's just like you go sit with a person, and sometimes they don't have to do anything. You
Mm.
just sit with them, and just their presence, you feel like you can like tell them everything. I don't know about you, but I know about me that when people come to me, they just kind of blurt out all kinds of things going on with them personal they wouldn't share with someone else.
Yeah.
It's because we hold space for them and we're able to hold them in a place of their highest potentiality. And they feel that healing when they're with us.
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't even know on a conscious level that that is what's going on. But the people say, I don't know why I'm just drawn to you and why I need to come work with you. Or they'll say things like, I just feel so peaceful when I'm around you.
Mm.
And that, my friend, is a light worker. It's
Yeah.
not somebody who's trying to do.
Uh-huh.
It's
And
somebody
some
who's being.
people might be tempted to say, well, everyone's a light worker. But I don't think that that's actual real because I know people that no one's going to come up to them. And like I was at the grocery store last week and this gentleman came up to me and I haven't seen him for a really long time. And he continued to tell me about his retirement and how he, relocated to a different, experience in his life, and how his wife and he went on and on for about 20 minutes. And I don't know why, but I just kept feeling hold space for him. So I just stayed there in the produce section and I just let him continue to talk. And then at the end, he literally started to cry. He got tears in his eyes and he said, why did you just let me tell you all that? And I said, because that's just what we do sometimes for each other. And he goes, well, I really appreciate it. Like he's this grown man. He's like 6'6" or something, he's like towers over me. And he's this older gentleman, but he just needed somebody to talk to for a moment. So I just let him talk. And sometimes that's being a light worker. I mean, he didn't schedule
Absolutely.
an appointment. He didn't come into my studio. I don't give a crap. I felt inspired to just let him be and to hold space for him. So really, there's people who do have occupations, but then there's some people who are just very naturally, they're like human sunshine, right?
That's right. That's the perfect
You
way to
are
say
like human sunshine.
the soul energy. SOL.
I
So
love
they
that.
bring sunshine to folks. And I love the play on the words of soul because SOL is the sun.
Yeah.
And I think that's Spanish. And then soul, think of our soul, right? It's
That's
that
cool.
soul energy.
I love that. Well, very cool. So you felt inspired to start working with light workers. And now that we know kind of a little bit more about what the term light worker is, tell us about what you do for light workers.
I help. Well, I guess you could say I'm a shadow worker as well. And so, what is a shadow worker? A shadow worker is someone who sees people's shadows but transforms them to the light. And so, one of the things that happen as a light worker, we get to, we're around a lot of people, and people might, so to say, vomit all their stuff up on us, right? And we take it all into our field. We're like sponges, right? And
Mhm.
then sometimes we don't clear that out, or we don't even realize that they just vomit on us, right? And then we go about our life and we're carrying their energy and we're wondering why we can't be successful. And so my job is as a shaman is to take those shadows and remove them and transform them to the light, but help bring it to a conscious level because it's very subconscious. You
Yeah.
know, I just had one of my students come and get a session the other day, and she'd been going through a lot of stuff, and she's an amazing, amazing light worker. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but she needed a session, and afterwards, she said, "I feel so much lighter and so much
Yeah.
better." Because let's face it, as a light worker we are very intuitive beings and we all have different capabilities. I call them clair senses.
Mm-hmm.
Clair senses, people are very familiar with clairvoyance, but that's only one way.
Yep.
There's clairsentient where we feel, there's clairaudient where we hear, like we might hear messages given to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also what we call clair cognizant. We just know, it's like we're channeling information or channeling spirit, is what I say. Because we go, I don't know where this is coming from, but I'm supposed to tell you this. And then people say to me, remember when you told me this? And I'll go, no. That's why you got to record it, because I was probably channeling spirit. So that's clear cognizant. It doesn't stick. Well, let's back up. It's not that it doesn't stick. It doesn't stick with the person who's channeling it. They're
Yeah.
needing to say it at the moment, and then it's gone. It's done. So, um,
Makes
one of
sense.
the other things I like to say is that there's clairgustance. So those who like to put foods together, they might be nutritionists or they might be,
What?
chefs
That's a
who
thing?
cook very clean. So they know how to put flavors together. And I say that because my clear abilities have grown over the years. And clear abilities to me because that's taste. So I love, one of the things that people don't know about me is I love putting food together. That's one of my things. I'm a foodie. And so, in my early years, I didn't know what flavors to put together. But now today I'm like, And like, how did you know that combination? I know, I just do it. And it's wonderful. And then there's clairsalence. Clairsalence is where you actually smell.
Mm-hmm.
So you can smell things. Um,
That's
so one time there was a student on the medicine wheel. He my student, but I was assisting for it a long time ago. And we went back to a past life. And sometimes what comes back in past lives is, things that we need to work on this lifetime. So it comes up in this lifetime and we need to go back to the past life where it came from. And so he had gone back to a past life where it came from. And um, as he was going through whatever he was seeing, he says, I taste blood. He was in a war battle in this past life. Yeah, this
well.
stuff happens. And so that's where Gustins also came in. I taste blood, that was how he probably transitioned. I don't like to use the word death because I don't feel like we die. Our bodies expire. But as a shaman, I know that we're so much more than these bodies. But,
Yeah.
he transitioned during that time, apparently in that past life. So there's just so much to understand as a light worker, or to bring to the conscious level things of our past. And many of us are light workers because we experienced trauma early in our lives. Maybe growing up in our households, we might have experienced alcoholism, drug addictions, to rageaholics. My father would kill me if he heard me say this. But,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a household where there was rageaholicism going on there. He was probably an alcoholic, and we didn't know it back in those days. But And not to say that that was just, he was nasty that way. He probably learned it from his father. So there's
Yeah.
generational pieces that come through. And so we become very sensitive to our environments.
Yeah.
And so we become very sensitive beings. And that's how we become a light worker, because we've had to deal with things like that in our lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard Carol Tuttle talk about how in the early years as a younger mother that she couldn't control her rage. It was just, and I'd never heard a woman talk about how she had rage as a mother. And I really identified with that. And I recognized that she was able to move past it. And it gave me hope. And man, I'm so grateful that my kids are so forgiving, because I didn't know how to control these, like, and I had a lot of kids. And so it's so nice to be able to know that you can, like, actually move past those things, but I've not heard anybody else talk about it since her. So thank you for bringing it up. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I remember literally looking at my dad thinking his eyes look red. Like, he was so full of rage that his eyes literally like turned red. It was kind of scary I think I was about
Oh, I experienced
14.
something similar too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but my dad and I are on good terms, and I think sometimes their memory isn't the same as reality when those kind of things happen. It's almost like, so anyway, I don't know why I'm bringing all that up.
Oh, girl, it's okay. I think we're relating to people because it's so funny, because my father made his transition in 1998. So he made it a lot earlier than my mom, and they weren't married at the time when he made his transition. And I would say to my mom, because my mom just made her transition last year in September, and I would say to my mom, and the late, before she passed, the years before she passed. And I would say, Mom, don't you remember? And so she kind of blinked it all out, because I think she had to learn how to numb out herself, right?
Yeah.
Being in that household. So, but those are the things, that's the trauma we go through. And because we go through that trauma, we become sensitive beings. And I think that's important for us to understand.
Yeah. Well, I love how you're talking about all the ways that people can communicate with energy, because this is a question that I get oftentimes. So I like how you're going through the clairs to be able to describe more about this. If there's anyone that's watching right now, I'd love to have you guys go ahead in the comments and share which one do you feel like you resonate with. Is there a certain type of clair? And if you don't know how to spell it, you don't have to try and spell it. You can just put down which
Like
sense.
hearing or seeing or
Yeah.
exactly. I think it's important for us to understand that. And the thing about it, like, I help people grow their clairs, because we might start out with one that we're pretty familiar with.
Uh-huh.
And I never was clairvoyant, by the way, until more recently. And clairvoyant is different for every person, by the way. So I want to be clear about that. Some people see colors, they see auras. Some people see energy fields. Well, I guess that may be the same. Or they might just see colors, because when I did a shamanic session on somebody one day, they couldn't see, like a movie reel playing. They couldn't see that. What they
Mhm.
saw were colors. And I go, well, fill into the colors and what do they mean, right? So clairvoyance is different for everyone. And for me, a movie reel plays.
Oh, wow.
So, but I probably started out with clairsentient. What do you feel that you are, Tammy?
I think it's the more like I can feel when my heart chakra area like literally gets really warm and it like swells.
Mhm.
And that doesn't it's not like something that's like there all the time. It doesn't happen all the time. But
Mhm.
when it does happen, I'm very aware of it because it's like very pronounced. Um,
Mhm.
I also will see pictures in my mind. When I'm doing foot zones for people, oftentimes I'll actually feel the physical of what they're experiencing. Like, for example, I recently foot zoned somebody who had really intense heartburn. And
Mhm.
I had heartburn so bad that I was like Bart Simpson belching, like, trying to get it out. And I felt so stupid, but I was like, I'm sorry, I've got to release this. Do you know what I mean? So and somebody else could say, like, whatever, you just were having indigestion yourself. No, I don't get that. You know what I mean? It's not something that's like on the regular for me at all. And it wasn't mine. And she had told me, you know, oh yeah, I have had that so intense that I needed to go to the doctor, and I was starting to take meds for it, but then she's pregnant, so she really couldn't continue taking that. You know, it was just like one thing after another. And then there was another client who I was foot zoning her through a virtual foot zone. She was in
Mhm.
Missouri. And
Mhm.
I said to her, by chance, do you happen to have anything going on with your kidneys right now? Because your entire kidney area is very inflamed. It's red. Like I was doing it proxy on my own foot.
Uh-huh.
And it was hot, like super hot. And she goes, well, I wasn't going to tell you, but I actually have kidney stones right now.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'll be damned if I didn't have kidney stone pain for the next 3 days
Yeah,
until I was like, okay, I know how to clear this. What am I doing holding on to this crap for? You know what I mean? So I went and, you
absolutely.
know, processed it the rest of the way, but it was intense. And I know what kidney stone feels like because I had them one every year for 7 years right before I started doing energy healing. Since I've been
Uh-huh.
doing energy healing, I haven't had kidney stones at all. You know, knock on
Beautiful.
wood, whatever. But I literally, so I feel it in my body.
Uh-huh.
It's like this, and it doesn't even have to be somebody that I'm working on. Sometimes I'm around somebody, like hanging out with them, and all of a sudden I start feeling their crap. You know what I mean? So what's
Yes.
that one called? What's the Claire
That's
term for that?
clairsentient. That would be clairsentient, but you know, I'm most empaths are clairsentient. They can feel other people's pain, other people's um, trauma.
Yeah.
I I remember hiking to one of my students on the medicine wheel, probably back in 2020 or 2021, and we passed by someone. She all of a sudden felt nauseated. She goes, "Oh, that woman has something going on." You know, she could feel it. So you know that's how some people feel it. Now, when people tell me about what's going on with them,
Hmm.
I can feel it in my body. You know, if they've got some medical things going on. So
Hmm.
maybe I am a medical intuitive, but I haven't been formally trained as a medical intuitive. But when people tell me something's going on with their body, I can feel it. And it's like,
Mm.
oh, okay, I feel that in you. Or I might feel it before they
Yeah.
even tell me. So
Well, and
yeah.
it's not something that you're like trying to like be snoopy about. You know, you're not like trying to pick up on you know, I don't want people to feel like if they come to the energy healing conference that we're all going to be like looking into them or whatever, you know. It's not like that at all. So I like feel
Right.
like you need people to understand that. You know what I mean? But
Right. It's not what we're looking all into them. I mean, I mind my business until you tell me what's going on with you, you know. Because if we were all into everybody else, then you know we feel all of that, and our energy field is floating with all of that. So I think it's very important to protect our energy fields as a light worker. And
yeah.
so, you know, part of it, you know, one of the big questions I have from light workers is how do I not take on other people's energy? How can I, you know, not feel everything? And so there's a couple ways I share with people how to do that. And one of the ways is to, as a shaman, I give out rights, which we call the bands of protection, bands of power. And so those rights actually help my people who come on the medicine wheel with me to actually protect themselves. And so, and then the other thing, if you're not doing that, then one of the things I help people do is I help them to learn how to clear out their chakras. You can do that right in the shower or while you're out hiking somewhere, you can clean them out. One day I was out hiking and I could just feel these energies because I clear out my chakras every night before I go to bed. I take a
Mhm.
shower every night before I go to bed. It's really easy to clean out your chakras. I have a whole video on that.
Mhm.
And so, so I clear out the energies of the day, and you just feel it. You know, you can feel which chakra is really affected by it.
Mhm.
And one day, I had dealt with somebody, and I was like, oh, I need to go clear this out right now. So I'm out in nature. Give it to Mother Earth. She loves to
Yeah.
take that stuff and transform it. You know, mulch it and transform it. So I gave it to Mother Earth and let her handle it. So notice that I'm bringing in the elements when I'm talking about when we're clearing ourselves. The elements are in us and they're out in nature. So, you know, you think about oftentimes we give our all the stuff we want. When I do fire ceremony, we're putting in things that we don't want. We want to let go of in the fire ceremony. We have little twigs, we blow into it because the shaman's breath is spirit's breath. You know, we're blowing into it, letting it go. So these are just some of the ways that rituals that we perform, ceremonies. Ceremonies are very effective, and they're very much needed. So many of you guys might know about the anthropologist, but he's also a shaman. He trains people as well. His name is Alberto Villoldo, and he's written the book Shaman Healer Sage. And one of the things he talks about is how ceremony has been around for ages, you know, since the early years. And so ceremony helps us to shift things in our lives. And that's why I do new moon ceremonies every month. But these are just ways to get this stuff out of our energy field. I offer ceremonies every month. I don't always, promote it because it's like it's a membership, and if people say, Tomasa, I want in, I'm like, okay, here you go. This is how you do it. But so that's just another way to shift our energy with fire. So as I was talking about the different elements, so fire ceremony is one way we give things to the fire. Actually, I have my students on the medicine wheel. They have to feed their seeds from all the rites that they receive so they grow. And so fire helps it to grow. Fire will grow.
That's cool.
If you want to see fire grow, if you want to give something to the fire to let it go, give it to the fire. It can burn it up too. Okay.
That's cool.
And then there's earth. So you heard me talk about earth, how we put things into the earth, like I was out there and I felt something. I was like, I need to get rid of this now. So let me stop and just clear out my chakras and give it to Mother Earth, right?
Yeah.
And there is there's metal. And metal is, I want to say, it's not just like what we think are metals, but these are gemstones too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're familiar with gemstones, and there will be gemstone people I know one of my students is out there. Yes, there you go. I got my gemstones on too. So gemstones take the energy, and they can transform it as well. Many of us know about smoky quartz. So that takes negativity, and clear quartz will amplify things for you. If you're looking for some type of healing energy, you can bring in amethyst. Those are just some of the basics, but gemstones. So we think of metal, it will take it on. So, back in 2018, talk about clear audience. I got a clear, definitive message from Spirit. Tomasa, the only jewelry you need to wear nowadays is gemstone. So if you ever see me, you probably see that all I ever have on is gemstones now. And I heard the call, and I'm like, okay, Spirit. So I have a friend that makes gemstone jewelry, and so that's what I wear now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, I wear my rainbows in June, so that I can celebrate Pride Month. But otherwise, I have a lot of gemstone jewelry too. But it's fun. Dude, I
already talked about the water, but let's talk about the other one that most of us don't even realize, because I'm a 5-element practitioner, right? So let's talk about wood. What is wood? Wood are the trees, the plant spirits. If you go out and hug a tree, the tree can take on the energy for you. You hug that trunk of the tree, it will help clear out your energy field. Everybody thinks of this hippy dippy stuff, go hug a tree, but it's real. So I think we need to understand that the plant spirits, the trees, the ancient trees, we call them the ancient plant spirits, do help us. So as well. So
absolutely. I was going to show you.
You're really getting a different taste of me today, because I have never brought all this stuff into it.
Well, I really love it. I have a sticker right here on my laptop that says, "Look to the trees." And for years, there's this tree in my backyard that I would go back there and I would sit down next to that tree. And but that tree is like dying. So now I'm like, what did I do to the tree? You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm sorry, tree. Yeah, actually 3 trees in that back area have died.
It might have a virus, a tree virus.
So yeah, I have a friend who is an arborist. I'm gonna have her come and help me with it, see if there's anything we can do to save it. And then I have a feng shui practitioner who is going to come and help me map my yard, because we're going to put a labyrinth in my
Nice.
backyard. Since we're turning our home into a healing center in a few years, we're already taking action to move forward in that way. But I'm like, maybe there's not supposed to be a tree there. Maybe the feng shui is not set up correctly, you know? So I'm
Oh, well,
looking at the
that's
different
good.
components to see how I can support this land for healing moving in. As people come here to heal, I want to make sure it's set up correctly, you know? But
Yes.
yeah, I love everything you're saying. That there's an image that I have. I'll post it as like a meme, you know, like an image on my Facebook page, that shows how the energy actually circulates from the tree through the person. So I'll post that and I'll tag you in it so
Beautiful.
you can see it. But
Yes,
I
definitely
love
tag me.
everything you're saying. I'm right here with you, girl. It's beautiful. So
Yeah.
I want to talk just briefly, like you've been doing Jin Shin Jyutsu for so long and you have your own rhythm where you have meshed different things that you've learned together for the vibrant flow energy. But a lot of people in Utah are really familiar now with the term Reiki and that modality. But how is what you do different from that?
Well, Reiki and Jin Shin Jyutsu both, use the life force energy to help heal people.
Hmm.
And I think the difference is Reiki is a little bit more subjective. The person who is doing the Reiki session gets to look and see and feel the energy field. And I understand, I've never taken Reiki, so you can correct me because I think you know Reiki. And I
Hmm.
understand that you do receive some type of ceremonial rites when you take Reiki classes. Jin Shin Jyutsu is a little bit different, even though we do use the life force and there's a lot of spirituality attached to it. But
Hmm.
there's also, it resembles more closely to Chinese medicine.
Okay.
And by the way, the Chinese medicine that we know today, that we have kind of, how should I say, try to put it in a square hole or a peg or whatever,
Yeah.
because people want to look like Western medicine.
Hmm.
It has some esoteric pieces to it as well. And
Hmm.
so, there's a whole spiritual class that I took on the Hun and the Po and all that. These are, things that we call the body, the corporeal soul, all those things, or the ethereal soul. So Chinese medicine has its aspects of it too, but it really isn't brought out when you go to see an acupuncturist or traditional Chinese medicine, especially if they're licensed and insurance is paying for it. It's just so funny how, those things get thrown out because, oh, they won't take that. So, so there is a lot of Jin Shin Jyutsu resembles more like Chinese medicine. So, like there are meridians. There's 12 meridians in Chinese medicine. There
Hmm.
are 12 organ function flows. They're very similar. They're not exactly the same as the meridians. The flows are a little bit different. Um, that's just the organ function flows. But Jin Shin Jyutsu has numerology embedded in it.
Oh.
A lot of numerology, and I'm not talking about like angel numbers. Angel numbers are different. Angel numbers are messages that are sent to us from the universe, from God, or whatever you want to call, this infinite source of energy. Um, those are messages. Whereas numerology is your sacred geometry. And that's what I talk about. So often folks, I don't know if they ever come back and tell you, or maybe you listen to the audios. I don't know.
Mhm.
I usually have a mantra and they're like, I am a star. So they get up in class, I am a star,
Mhm.
because they are a star. We all are 5-pointed stars. And, that's our sacred geometry. And so our sacred geometry also has a lot to do with our numerology. The day we are born, the name we were given, all those things. That is our numerology. One's a life path, one is a destiny number. But the numerology expands beyond that. Like, there's first like this is a personal, what's your personal year? Do you know what your year is this year? Like, this is a 3-year for me. So I'm learning how to move through relationships. Threes are about relationships. Think about the Trinity: body, mind, spirit. Was it God's Holy Spirit and Jesus? So that to me is Jesus is man. Spirit is God. That is our soul, or whatever. And then Holy Spirit is out there. So that is spirit. So you can look at it any way, but then, everyone is a mirror to us as well. So I have to look at those things. What are they showing me about myself? I might not like if I'm judging them, right? So these are the things we are here to look at for ourselves, to learn when we're around other people and they trigger us. What are they triggering me from my past? What's going on here, right?
Yeah, I've had something really very personal similarly. This last like year, I've been having like a really difficult time with my mom, like
Mhm.
very deeply painful. And then I realized the crap that was bothering me so much about my mom was stuff that I have been doing as a mom, and I didn't even see it until I really went inside and was doing some deep forgiveness work. And I was
Mhm.
like, "What in the world?" I didn't even see that. So when you were talking about the term shadow earlier, I was like, "This is like with my mom," you know? It's like, okay, I'm glad that came up for me so I could like see, because I didn't
Mhm.
even see before. It was like I was blinded to it, you know? So then I went to my daughters, I was like, I'm doing this." And I didn't even know it. And they're like, "Yeah." Basically, you know?
Our children are our biggest teachers, I have to tell you.
I'm so grateful, honestly. They're
Yes.
very
Mhm.
patient while I learn about all of the things how I can pull things up to my awareness and go, "Let me look at that." It might be really painful, but I need to look at it. It's good for my
Mhm.
own healing and go, "Well, shoot, that hurt. I don't wanna do that to other people that I love," you know? So,
Absolutely.
man, it's like that's real healing, you know what I mean? It's like deep work. So, oh, I love everything you're saying. I know how good it is to work with you. I know
Mhm.
how I feel, how deeply soul fulfilling, honestly, it is. Like, I feel like you knew me better than I knew myself the very first time I met you after you looking at my chart. You know, I cried for the full like 2.5 hours. Oh my gosh. Like, seriously. And I know your appointments aren't typically that long. I just talk a lot. So, um, but I would love for other people who are watching right now who maybe can't even come to the conference. How do people find out about working with you? Let's go ahead and post the links, but I would love to have you talk about them as well. So
So
let's go ahead and do that.
So one of the things that I've grown as I've come to the conferences. So things have changed. We laugh about what I first came out with when I first came to the two first conferences. And then finally, there's a lot of things I have knowledge and wisdom about. But, um, and I think what people love, and I was given back in 2012 when I went to Peru at this famous site called Alian Tantambo. I shouldn't say famous site, sacred site called the Alian Tantambo. Um, I was told that I'm here to help people find their life's purpose.
Mm.
And I'd already been a practitioner. Let's see, 2012. I started being a practitioner in 1997. So what is that? 15 years. I'd already been a practitioner.
Wow.
Help people with lots of health projects. In my astrology chart, my sun is in the sixth house. The sixth house is about health and daily routines. So that's why I'm the self care queen, by the way.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I was like, what? I'm here to help people find their life's purpose. Are you crazy? Right?
Mm.
So I heard the call and I did my best to comply. And I, came out and said, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I remember clients saying, well, I'm not here for that with you. I'm here to get my health together, right? I was seeing a lot of elderly clients at the time. And so, anyway, so there were some people I started to help to step into their life purpose. But I think that it really came into me when you and my eldest child, after the St. George, Utah, and said, you do so much more than what you're showing up as. And see, that's a light worker showing up small, right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to like, I don't want to step on toes, but I was like, what the? I've worked with you. you know?
No, 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 no. This is an example of spirit showing up in your life through other people and giving you messages. Either you hear the messages and you're open enough to receive them, or you're wounded and you can't hear it. So
Mm.
I had done enough work on myself. I remember my kids saying, "Mom, I know you," and I said, "I just invested all this money in this," and da, da, da. And then I looked and said, "I'm going to sit with it." So I sat with it and I said, "I heard it and it feels right. Okay." Because Alexa said, "Mom, what are you doing? People want astrology and you know how to do that. And you got a modality that has astrology in it. Lexus
Mhm.
used to do readings with me for people. And so anyway, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I was playing small. And
Mhm.
so now, I was like, okay, I will help people step into their life's purpose. It's in their charts. And the way to activate it is through Jin Shin Jyutsu, because I tell the story that when I first got on the table, I was in a high-tech career. And I ran against the wall because I was exhausted and tired. And here's the thing is I was sick just with a cold. And with
Mhm.
that cold, I went to go see a practitioner that did Jin Shin Jyutsu. And I tell the story that when I got on the table and received, I felt like I was being plugged into source. And so when
Wow.
people come to work with me, that's what they feel. So, I say, hey, we have these aspects of Jin Shin Jyutsu. It closely resembles Chinese medicine, but it also has that spiritual piece where you feel like you're
Mhm.
plugged into source. Recently, I had somebody come to me at a conference and said, "Hey, I wanna open up my third eye." And I said, "Well, come, because it will start to do that. You'll start to get clarity. You'll start to get clear because you're being plugged into source. And I'm not saying that I'm the source. I'm the vessel for the source. And my
Mm.
my vessel is pretty darn good because I try to keep it clear as possible."
You're very good at that. I hear the things that you do. I know that it's something that you practice what you preach 100%. Like, it's really a big deal. So if anyone is wondering, like, hey, where do we go? What's the way? There's these three different options. Do you want to go ahead and talk about these a
Yeah.
little bit? I got
So
you up on the
the
screen
the
here.
first option, if you've never worked with me at all, you're new to this. There is a package, Unlock Your Cosmic Blueprint bundles, and that's what I call it because Unlock Your Cosmic Blueprint is a course. It's a 9-hour course. Now, I've recorded this, because I've taught it several times. And basically, you can go and do it at your own self pace. Now, what I'm probably going to do is because I want to make sure everybody completes the course and not just sign up and later on and 2 years later, they still haven't completed it. So, what I'm doing in July is I'm going to open up Saturday mornings for Q&A for people who have signed up for Unlock Your Cosmic Blueprint, whether it's been in the past or this upcoming um, energy healing conference. And
Mhm.
so you not only just get that, but the bundle includes a cosmic clarity session. So Tammy's talking about a reading. I used to only say I do them for 20 minutes. I lied. I do them for an hour. I can't not tell you everything about
Yeah,
yourself, right?
it's so
And
cool.
so I decided, to just tell people that's what I do. And then there's the other piece in that bundle is you get a cosmic blueprint alignment activation. So that's me doing hands-on. And this is an amazing deal because it's worth like over $800 in value between the course because I'm giving you the fish, or excuse me, I'm teaching you how to fish, not just giving you the fish, so to speak. Giving you the fish would be the cosmic blueprint activation. Okay. So you come and receive it and learn how it feels to receive from someone else. And then you get the reading as well. So you get the whole package. It's an amazing deal. I have to tell you, I should be charging much more for that, but I want everybody to have this. My heart is in it because I want to see people thrive in their lives. I want to see people reach their highest potential. The middle one is those there. So in the beginning, when I started doing this, people only got cosmic clarity sessions. That's pretty much your cosmic blueprint readings, your astrology reading. And so they didn't get this other piece where they got to learn how to work on themselves or they got to get, an activation. So this one includes the course. and includes the activation, me working on you. So that's for the first two are for people who show up at the conference. Okay.
Mhm.
The last one is for people who don't show up at the conference. So this is the one to the far right, and this is the cosmic. It's a unlock your cosmic blueprint course, but it's without the activation. Obviously, you're not at the conference, so you're not going to have me to be able to work on you. And
Right.
so if you're going to be home or whatever, but you want reading and you want the course, I don't want to just give people readings anymore because people take readings and what they do is they just go. But what
Mhm.
I want to do is to be able to sit in their highest potential and not just get the reading and go about their day, right? The readings do change you, but the activations, and you will learn how to activate yourself by taking Unlock Your Cosmic Blueprint class as well, the course. So I'm giving you more so that you reach your highest potential and learn how to do this on yourself. This is Jin Shin Jyutsu. So, there's the numerology in there. The course includes numerology. The course includes these 20 keys written in the Bible. I'm not a Bible person. I grew up in Catholicism. We might have read through the Bible, but there's a passage there in Matthew verses 19, I think is, I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. So these are the 26 keys. And so you'll learn about those 26 keys, and they're right here on your body. The placements are, very strategic. So, like, ones are right at your knees. What do your knees help you do? Move forward. So it's like holding the safety energy lock ones gets things moving. So if someone feels stuck, they learn how to get unstuck. You can also use it according to your numerology. So I could go into for hours about this course, but it is an amazing deal. It is an amazing modality that can help you move through a lot in your life. I have helped many people with many different health ailments. But one thing I talk with people about is the health ailments come because our soul is screaming for us to get in alignment with it because we might be doing things in our lives that are not in alignment with our soul. So, addictions would be one of them. So, what are the repercussions that come from that, like from addictions, so you feel things going on in your bodies. The other thing might be maybe you're in a job that you cannot stand, that you're just doing it just to pay the bills. And so you're doing something that is not in alignment with your soul. So, things come up. And so we have to help ourselves to get in alignment with it. So, and that is one of the things I brought up here. So I also want to bring up here that if there's something that maybe I don't have here, like at the last conference in Sandy in February, I had a gentleman come because everyone sees the name Shaman, right? Because I
Mhm.
am a shaman. I have the markings of a shaman in my chart. So I'm truly a shaman. Okay. And I live and walk it as much as I can, the best I can to the best of my ability. Um, but here's the thing is he wanted a shamanic session. I can't do shamanic sessions at the Energy Healing Conference. They're very, very deep and personal.
Mhm.
Um, and so, I don't want you to be vulnerable to what's out there at the conference. So you can book shamanic sessions with me. And people who have come to the conference have booked shamanic sessions with me. And some of them have come back and says, I want to come work with you on the medicine wheel. So those
Mhm.
are the types of things that, there aren't showing up on my menu of items. I will probably have a sheet that shows other things just because I've had people come and inquire about other things. But I want you, this is like introduction to Jin Shin Jyutsu for all of us here, for anybody who has never really experienced it.
Yeah.
And it's not that you just experience it once. You know, I'm going to talk about how folks will go to the doctor and they have an ailment and they'll take a pill and they'll keep taking pills And especially if we have things like high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, things like that. So we continue to take pills all the time. And so people think that energy healing, you're supposed to come and get it once and it's done. Well, I want to remind you that you go out in the world and you still face it. And because you face it, your every cell in your body wants to go back to what it's familiar with. So it's important to keep it up, to continue to do it. And then there comes a time when that ailment goes away. It can go away. And I'm a walking example of it. I talk about how I no longer have asthma.
Mm.
So, um,
Well, and the thing is, like, I know you're not making like any medical claims or whatever, you know, like if somebody like was watching this and,
right.
I'm trying to say it politely, but pull the stick out of your butt. Like, that's not what she's doing. She's not doing that, but she's sharing her own personal experience of what she has um, personally
And I'm
been
not telling people to get off their medications. You
correct.
know, I'm telling folks to come and get some support around it. I didn't get off asthma medication when I was
Say
in
that.
this. What's that?
I said, "Oh my gosh, did I just say that?" Like,
No, I didn't get off asthma medication. It's so funny. I would go when I finally, healed my asthma or my lung project, we call it. I don't like to call them the labels because every cell in your body responds to the label. And that's something I learned early on when I started doing energy healing. Every
mm,
cell in your body responds to whatever the label is that has been given to the ailment. And so and if you say it's a project, some type of health project, then the project has a deadline. The project is going to end at some point, right?
I like
So it's kind of a mindset shift here as well, if you understand what I'm saying.
yeah.
So I guess that's what I like to say. If we have health projects, if you call them health projects, then there will be eventually. It took me 30 years to heal asthma. I'll be honest. I was 18 years old when I was diagnosed with it, and I went away.
Sorry, I
Uh-oh.
totally pushed the wrong button. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was
So
trying to
I
get it
was
back to us here.
So I was 18 when I was diagnosed with asthma, and I
Mm,
was put on Theodore, which was a medication that made me feel like I was going to die because my heart was jumping out of my chest. I'm
alright.
serious. Like, how can you sleep with that, right? And then, I can't even tell you dry mouth because you're taking inhalers and things like that. And so you're always thirsty and you have a dry mouth. I didn't like how I felt. So I started searching for other things between
Yeah.
herbs and
Mhm.
um, and um, and energy healing.
Yeah.
And then finally, it took me 30 years to heal it. And part of it, what hit the nail on the head was the medicine wheel, shamanic work. I managed it many years with Jin Shin Jyutsu. And then when I did shamanic work, I went through the medicine wheel. One day I went through a healing crisis because I couldn't breathe. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't breathe. But I went back to a past life where I was burned at the stake. Many light workers, we're here to get over whatever we have from a past life of healing. We might have been some type of healer. And what happens is we came back this lifetime to be that healer, but to get over it. So the ones that I see who are reluctant to share their gifts are the ones who really need to get over that piece of what might have happened in a past life. So that's what had happened to me. I was being burned at the stake. I couldn't breathe, right? And then I remember, going back to that. We call them soul retrievals because a lost part of our soul goes away when something that we have been doing. So when I was a healer that lifetime, I was burned at the stake. People call them witches. I laugh today because people say, "Oh, witches and that," and I go, "I don't claim to be a witch. That's what they called me in a past life. I am a healer." I'm very clear about that. I'm not a witch. I'm a healer. And people like, "Oh, but good witches." I'm like, I don't like the word. I'm a healer.
Have you ever heard of the book called The Witch of Blackbird Pond?
No, I haven't, but I might have to look at it.
It's a classic, and I when I was homeschooling my daughters, my daughter Kylie said, Mom, I think she was like 11 or 12. She said, you'd really like this book. And basically the gist of the book is about how this woman was literally, she like had an herbal garden, and like if people could swim, they were considered to be like a dangerous, back in those days. And they would like do away with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could swim, like what? But anyway, the whole book, it's about how people just shun people who are nonconformists. And you learn it though through the eyes of a different, almost like a different life, a different culture, a different time. You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yes.
I remember when she read the book in one day, and it's like a 200-page book, not something that you could just usually pick up and read in an hour or something,
Wow.
She read it in one day, and she gave it to me the next day, and she said, I know you would really like this book. And I finished it in one day too. I mean, I literally was like, nothing else matters right now.
You have to text me that. I have to look that book up. I'm sure I would love it as well.
It's really good. In fact, if you like to listen to books, because it's such an older book now, you can just look up the chapters on YouTube and have somebody else read it to you.
Nice.
And there's so many different voices too. So if you find one that you're like, nah, I don't really like this person like style, you can go and do another one. But it's like, I feel like it's like should be like required reading. I mean, this is so good. I've gone back to it a couple times. I think you would like it. But I remember the woman in the book, she had an herbal garden. And I mean, like, what, and I don't know, somebody might not really like that term or whatever, but to me, I think it means so many different things to different people now. Just like you said, I don't really align with the term, but somebody else might really align with the term. You know what I mean? And it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like, to me, I'm just like,
what is it that you do? What is it?
Right. Exactly. Just be you and love yourself, I think. Right.
That's exactly it. Just be you and love yourself and be the nonconformist that you're here to be,
I mean, if somebody came up to you and said, Tomasa, you're so normal, would you take that as a compliment? I mean, I certainly would not.
I actually don't want to be normal, to be honest.
Exactly. But if they say like, oh, Tomasa, you're like weird, or you're so different,
I'm like, yeah, I am. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I appreciate you so much. If you guys are watching this right now and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just want to connect with her more, I want to encourage you to reach out. The links are all in the comments here. We also want to share your contact information for people who are also interested. So let's go ahead and share that now. What information would you like them to have?
I'm fine with them having my email address and my phone number. That's fine.
Okay.
So that's what my phone is there for, to answer questions. Just don't send me a text that, I didn't pay my tolls or something. There's some kind of scammy text going on trying to get your financial information. But, hey, Tomasa, I saw you on the YouTube channel with Tammy, and, I want to reach out to you. I will respond to text messages. I might not respond to them right away, especially if I'm getting a bunch of them, but you're welcome to text me. That's what my phone is there for. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So do we need to put that up, or do you have it?
Yeah, I'm getting it right now. I appreciate you. Letting me do that. Because sometimes people really are like, I don't want to ask this online. Yeah. I would prefer to just ask her, if it's something that's referring to them doing an appointment with you, Kathy's asking, what was the name of that book you said, Tammy? It's called The Witch of Blackbird Pond. And if you look it up, the author has many good books that I've read. Many of her books to my my family actually became acquainted with her, just the way that she does it. And, if you're curious about why certain books are banned, there's probably a reason why her book was banned for a time, but it is really good. And I'll put down the author's name as well. Her name is Elizabeth George Spear with an E at the end is how you say her name. One of my favorite, all-time favorite books that I read to my oldest son, Caden, is and there's a sequel to it too, which I found out, and he was a little bit older when I really wanted to read that one to him, but he was like, I'm older now. I don't want you to read books to me. And I'm like, you're not so old that I can't read the sequel of our favorite book. But he really liked that one too. The Sign of the Beaver is another good one. The Bronze Bow goes through the Roman times. It was one of the things that when I was learning about actual Jesus, I read that one. It's like, I would call it like a nonfiction historical novel. So you can learn a lot about the time period. But The Witch of Blackbird Pond is the one that I felt really inspired to share with you guys today. But yeah, so many good books by that author. I should freaking reach out to her and just tell her thank you, because I did that with this book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die right before I did the first conference. And I told her how her book helped me to get clean from meth, because my grandmother sent me that book when I was living in Queens, New York. And, turns out her actual name was the same name as my grandmother's name, Geraldine. And I didn't know that all these years, but I told her how instrumental her book was for me. And even though I don't identify as a Christian anymore, her book was so helpful to me and my journey. I remember sitting there and I was reading this book, and it was talking about how your thoughts affect your energy. And
absolutely. That's vibration.
Yeah. I remember I closed the book and I sat there. I was by myself on the 4th story of this food court in this mall. And I closed the book and I went, is that true? And that I was telling you about that heart chakra. I felt that so strong. I was like, I think that is true. So I opened it back up and I read it. I highlighted it. And then I put a dog ear on the page. I put a Post-it note on it, and I went, your thoughts do affect your life, your energy, the vibration around you. And see, at that point, all the way up to that point in my life, I thought that I was just a victim of my life, a victim of my circumstance, and you didn't have any control over anything that happened to you. But I don't believe that that's true anymore. I really believe that our thought, you were talking about the words that you say about your health, about how saying that it's a project. I'm going to take that in. I'm going to use that, Tomasa. I've been saying I was given a diagnosis of Hashimoto's. And ever since I started saying that, this goiter has gotten bigger and bigger. And I'm like, what? Am I not supposed to say I received a diagnosis of this? And I thought to myself, as you were talking just now.
No, so you call it, I have a thyroid project.
I have a thyroid project that is wrapping up. That's what I will be saying.
There you go. There you go.
I love it. So you teach me something every time I talk to you. I just appreciate you so much. So you guys go ahead and send Tomasa a text, connect with her, introduce yourself to her, come meet her at the conference. She's got a class both days, Friday and Saturday. She'll also be in the vendor hall. She's got a nice big spot there where you can come and connect with her.
So I'm also going to be doing sessions, and I actually have an assistant this time. So, wonderful. I've had to turn people away in the past. And so I made a way to accommodate, but I will tell people, if you are interested, pre-book it. Because I already have 2 people signed up for next week.
That's awesome. Friday.
So people are starting to book up. So
that's awesome. And these clarity sessions, you can book in advance. You guys have the links in the comments here, so go ahead and jump on that. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. And Tomasa, do you have anything that you'd like to close up with before we go?
I just want to thank everyone who has come and been a part of this, listening to us. I also want to thank you, Tammy, for putting on the Energy Healing Conference. And if you're coming to the Energy Healing Conference, come and listen. Come and hear me speak. Not just because I want you to hear me speak. I don't care. My ego could care less. But I want to help you step into your cosmic blueprint so you can live your highest potential. If any of this has resonated with you, feel free to reach out. Come. Because when people have their cosmic clarity sessions, they are they're very like, wow, thank you so much. You really nailed it on me. So
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I just wanted to say it's 11:11.
okay. It's 10:11 here, so it's 11:11 there.
Oh, okay. It's 11:11 here. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Blessings to you all.
See ya.
Yeah.